Last time I spoke, we looked at strengthening our grip, which is all to do with how to deal with failure. And today we're going to look at raising our voice. Something very strange happened to me a number of years ago. I was really nervous. I've been waiting for that day for months. There's a great deal of excitement about that time and about what was going on in my hometown. And to help me with this moment, my mother taught me how to make crepe paper roses. She had many talents, and one of them was making bunches of flowers out of crepe paper. And so I'd prepared all this and got up early in the morning and went with my mother to the moment where I was going to meet that lady. Oh, I know. Lizzie and I. So we got up really early and we went down into the town centre because she was going to open the new Hexagon Theatre on her Silver Jubilee year. And she was walking down a new parade that had been created called Queen's Walk. Now, I was, if trying to work out how old I was 10 when this momentous occasion happened in the Queen's life. And so there I was, and the barriers are up, and people are cheering and screaming, and people around are saying, oh, I wonder if she's going to stop and take our flowers. But there was I clutching this crepe paper posy. And people were looking at me. You know, sometimes adults can be the strangest creatures in the world. And they were looking at me and sort of barging me backwards because they wanted to see the Queen, and they had their little flags going and all these various things. But I clutched on to this crepe paper bunch of roses in my hand, and it was gradually going soggier and soggier as I held onto it. And we could feel the excitement rising, and I managed to get hold of the barrier and hold on for dear life because people are jostling every way. And I'd run over in my mind what I would say to the Queen when I gave her these paper flowers. And I mean, that was totally irrational anyway, because there's no guarantee that the Queen would even stop. And so, but I'd rehearsed this, what I was going to say, how I was going to say it, and all this kind of thing I had in my mind. I dreamt about it, hadn't slept for days. And then you could hear the anticipation in the crowd rising, and the electricity rising. And people say, oh, she's here, I can see her, I couldn't see her, because I was so small, and everyone around me was so big, waving their flags and cheering. And then the very next moment, before I knew it, the Queen's hand in a white glove stretched out and took the paper posies from my hand. And she said words that I will never forget. Words that were so gentle and kind, yet so well pronounced with good diction that I hadn't grown up with, as you can tell. Words that just washed over me, that overwhelmed me. And she said this: "Did you make these for me?" And the crowd hushed around me, just as you have. Those who were surrounding me, all of a sudden, I was the center of attention. They wanted to hear what I was going to say. And I said, "Blah." True story. I'm not preaching yet. This is the truth. And anyway. So I said, "Blah." Just my tongue, my mouth, my jaw, everything was overwhelmed. I was paralyzed. Not with fear, but just the overwhelming nature of the occasion. My mother stepped in and explained, no, we had made them together and she had helped me and everything. And the Queen looked at me and she smiled. She just patted my hand that was still outstretched. She had taken the posies, but my hand was there. You know, she just patted my hand gently and carried on. Have you ever been lost for words? Now, I know in my life that's quite a rare occasion and has not happened for the last 35 years, but you understand, have you ever been in that moment where you think, oh, you're just lost for words? I think to a point we've all been there. And this morning we'll look a little bit at raising our voice. You see, each of us have something to say. Each of us has a story to tell. And sometimes we underestimate the value of our story because maybe we carry a bit of a poor self-image or a lack of confidence or whatever it is, but we doubt that actually that our story, our testimony, how what God has done in our life has any value because we compare it to others. But what we need to remember is that we are in a process of being transformed. We're in a process of being changed. In 2 Corinthians 3:18 we read, "And we who with unveiled faces all reflect the Lord's glory are being transformed into his likeness with ever-increasing glory, which comes from the Lord, who is the Spirit." Now last week I mentioned the doctrine of justification, how we're absolutely legally entitled to relationship. Our sins are blotted out, they're done with, and God has justified us. It's just as if I'd never sinned. And we talked about the owner of a Rolls Royce. But this morning I want to mention another doctrine, because I actually think, as I was praying about this, I'm thinking, well, why is it that we shy away from sharing our testimony? And it might be that actually, it might just be nerves. It might just be, is that the right moment with our friends? It might be all of that. But more fundamental underneath all that is a lack of assurance in where we currently are as Christians, because we all know that we're probably not as good as we should be. Apart from Nigel, who's he's looking at me going, I'm as good as I should be. For some, Nigel, that's about as much as we hope for, but bless you. But there is a sense in which all of us will walk through life and think, I'm not quite as good as I should be.